Okay, chapter 22. We are introduced to some new characters now, and we move the narrative over to the location called Bald Hills. This is where Prince Andrei grew up and where his father and sister live. Andrei's father served under Catherine the Great, and he was some well-respected person and successful person. And the way it goes is Catherine the Great died, and then there was this short interval of this other Tsar named Paul, and he was just a ruler for a few short years, and then I think he might have even been assassinated. And it was after Paul that the current Tsar Alexander, who was a younger man, came to power. But when after Catherine died and this Paul character came on the scene, Prince Nikolai is the guy's name, Nikolai Bolkonsky. He did not get along with this change. And he got this title called the King of Prussia. And by that, it's sort of a nickname given to him. He was actually exiled to his estate because he was just not getting along with this transition. And apparently he was a very hard-lined, independent, uncompromising kind of guy. So you get this sense of this old guy living most of his life, successfully managing things. Things change, and he's not adapting to change very well. And it's almost pushing him to become more intolerant of things. And so this is the father of both Marya, Andrei's sister, and Prince Andrei himself. And we don't know much or anything about the backstory. We don't know much about the wife or the mother. Presumably she died. We don't know much led this old prince to become who he was. But as he's presented in the book, he's this rigid, militaristic, kind of uncompromising guy. So he was exiled to his state under the rule of Paul, but when the Tsar Alexander came, that ban was lifted. But he decides, I don't need anybody, I'm going to stay at my estate. And based on the reading, it seems that he was an intelligent man, he was an industrious man, but again, being intelligent, there's dimensions of intelligence. You can be intelligent in one dimension and extremely poor of intelligence in another. And this is kind of what we see in this person. For example, comparison, Count Rostov, he was extremely intelligent in the social setting, interacting with people and throwing parties, but he was very unintelligent in terms of managing the family affairs. And then we see this lack of intelligence as he's relating to his daughter especially. And here's a description of the home. Regularity was the prime condition for work, and regularity was carried out to the highest degree. He always came to the table under precisely the same conditions, and not only at the same hour, but at the same minute. Those about him, from his daughter to his servants, he was sharp and invariable demanding. So, inasmuch as we can try to imagine and paint a picture which led him to be the person he is, these are not encouraging or favorable comments of him to let us sort of have a good opinion of him. And we see how Princess Marya interacted with him. As usual, she entered the anteroom at the time appointed for the morning greeting, crossed herself in trepidation, and said a silent prayer. Every day she went in to see her father, and every day she prayed that this daily interview might come off well. So he was exact and precise with his daughter as well. Doesn't seem like he was a very wonderful father to have, to be honest, even though he was quite intelligent in other ways. And we hear from her father that a letter from Julie arrives. And so, okay, this is This is a connection here. This is the same Julie we've seen interacting with Nikolai, and we know nothing of her. We've seen totally Sonya's side, and we've sort of been empathizing with her character in this Sonya Nikolai versus Julie story. And here we see that Julie is actually a very close friend of Marya. And through the chapter, we come to empathize quite a bit more with Julie. She is just not no unintelligent person looking to get married off. She is quite sharp and thoughtful and philosophical and engaging and empathetic and relational. In this letter, we read that she sends to Marya, and Marya in turn writes back. So this actually gives a whole new color to this whole context surrounding Nikolai. And sort of our respect for Julie kind of goes up a lot as we learn more about her. And we see more about Prince Nikolai, the old man, how he, just to be blunt, treats his daughter poorly, I believe. He's trying to educate her himself, to train her. He has this strict schedule. And for him, it's the right thing to do. He has these values in his head, which is obviously this is the right thing to do. And this is common amongst humans around the world of all ages. You are the one most convinced in your ideas, and it sort of justifies any behavior, even if it's treating those around you poorly. And he does so trying to train his daughter, and she doesn't get it. She's not into it. She doesn't have the same mind as his regarding math and so on. You know, her skills are of a different nature, and it's just this conflict and fear. And so it's kind of like, why does Marya put up with this then? And again, so there's this a twofold thing. Again, you know, this is a male-dominated society again. Remember this. The women really don't have much opportunity to educate themselves or to be in a position of influence or power, although things are changing. You know, we get these little hints of Pierre kind of fantasizing, philosophizing about more liberal ideas and whatnot. And maybe this is what's causing the old prince to kind of not get along with the way society is changing. And so that he's kind of the personification of what is old and old ideas and being set in his ways. And, you know, I try to empathize with what all the things that led him to be this way, and is there any possibility for him to change himself? And I think people have that opportunity, but so often ideas and thoughts and identities gets calcified, and that's kind of what's happened with this man to such a large measure. And so on the flip side, you know, what is Marya's view of this? And as we read through, you can see that she is, of everyone in the story so far, she seems to be the most religious. And it's her faith and her religion that she wears as sort of, this is my cross to bear, and she will love her father unconditionally and serve him and help him. And no matter how difficult it is for her and strainful the interaction is for her, she feels this is her duty, not just as a daughter, but as a matter of faith, to participate and be supportive, even if it brings her tears and trepidation and fears on a daily basis. So just like the old man has these ideas that are calcifying him to behave a certain way, it's sort of it's not really a very good mirror, but in a similar way, Marya has her own way of dealing with it, of which is just helping her cope with this difficult situation. And there's this interesting sentence here. The Princess Marya, was as disorderly as her father was orderly. And so you can imagine this is just a continual source of angst between them, just as their intuitions are not aligned. And so this letter from Julie that the princess gets, and she expresses herself and talks about what's happening in Moscow with people going to war, with the manifesto, and she talks a little bit about Nikolai going to war, and now that's kind of sad for her. And she really talks him up as being this very noble young man. You know, remember at the party how he stood up very boldly and says, "Yes, we must fight for the emperor." And he was kind of like everybody's, "Okay, man, like we agree with you, just tone it down. We're having a party here." And Julie was very admirable of what he said. And so she admires him, but there's this interesting thing how he says, "I know that Count Nikolai is too young ever to be more than a friend to me. But this sweet friendship, this pure poetic intimacy has fulfilled a need in my heart." I don't think that's true. You know, knowing Julie, being a friend of Marya, you know, there's this way of talking of which we have to absorb the hardships of life, and we can't, it's kind of hedging your bets of not wanting some good or joyful thing to wish for or hope for, some good and joyful thing to come your way. And so the way you hedge your bet against disappointment is outright saying, well, this probably won't happen. And I kind of take it, this is how it is, how Julie's kind of, maybe it's in interaction with Marya, but it's just kind of a narrative. You know, this Nikolai, I just admire him, what a wonderful fellow. There's so few people like this, you know, probably it's not really such a thing. And anyway, that's an interesting thing. And then she goes on to say about Pierre, how he actually did become the inheritor of the state. He is now Count Bezukhov. He was legitimatized. And actually, Julie makes mention, you know, there's even rumors saying that I should marry Pierre now, because there's all these suitors and these women coming out of the woodwork with their daughters. You know, hey, all of a sudden Pierre is a celebrity to all these people for all kinds of complexing motivations. And she says, that doesn't interest me at all. And so she has this sort of pure idealism, similar to Marya. I think Marya's is more extreme, but they're friends. This is one aspect of their friendship they share and can relate to very well, and of which Marya is very engaging over. And then we see Princess Marya start to write a letter back, and she talks about Pierre, he always seemed to me to have an exceptionally good heart. And so it seems without question, wherever Pierre went, people have a warm spot in their heart for Pierre. And I'd just like to read this one little bit, just the closing of the letter Marya sent to Julie, how she, talking about the war and how she observed all these new recruits, maybe they were conscripts, going off to war. In the village, I witnessed a heart-rending scene, a convoy of recruits, conscripted from among our people, being sent off to the army. You should have seen the state of the mothers, the wives, the children of the men who were leaving. You should have heard the sobbing on both sides. One would think mankind had forgotten the laws of its divine Savior, who preached love and forgiveness of wrongs, and that the greatest merit now consisted in the art of people killing one another. I really like this character seeing the war in this way. You know, we've heard some of the other side, the emperor and the old colonel and the young Nikolai, just seeing it as this heroic act. And here we have this Marya who sees this other side, this very real side. It's kind of like, what are we doing as people? Are we really as evolved and advanced and smart as we are? that the best, most skillful thing we can do is to imagine greater ways of killing each other. I really appreciate that being included. And so these are new characters we're introduced to. So this is just little tidbits of Nikolai, Julie we learn more about, and Marya, and just the situation at Bald Hills. So it's starting to color a little bit the context of Prince Andrei a little bit. This was the father that Prince Andrei grew up with and is trying to, he grew up in a different generation, trying to cycle through some of all the things he knows and learns and understands, some of which you could say is conflicting with some of the virtues and ideals that his father maybe instilled in him. Yet his father still had a great influence on him. And so anyway, we're on just, that's chapter 22, and we're still being introduced to new important characters. So no need to rush here.